Hello and welcome to WION Live Broadcast from Washington, D.C. I'm Simon Marks, and here are the top headlines of this Tuesday. The British government says it is determined to impose further sanctions on Russia and will continue to do so until Moscow fully withdraws from Ukraine. Sweden's energy agency declares an early warning over fears that gas supplies may be impacted due to reductions in energy imports from Russia because of the war in Ukraine. More than 130 civilians were killed in attacks over the weekend in central Mali by suspected armed rebels. They're the latest mass killings in the Sahel region. Asian and European stocks rise as calm returns following last week's turmoil, but analysts are warning of further interest rate hikes ahead in a bid to tackle soaring inflation. And over 100,000 people have been relocated and 10,000 homes destroyed as southern China is hit by floods and landslides following heavy rainstorms. We begin today here in Washington, where all eyes will once again be on Capitol Hill. Today, the House of Representatives Select Committee investigating the Capitol riot of January the 6th last year is set to meet for its fourth public hearing. This time, the focus will be on unearthing evidence that Donald Trump was involved in a scheme to submit fake slates of electors in a last-ditch effort to block Joe Biden's 2020 election win. Back in January of 2021, Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, pushed the idea of replacing some of the electors who would meet in the Electoral College, that middleman that sits between US voters and the outcome of every presidential election. Eastman is accused of convening hundreds of electors on a call and encouraging them to send alternative slates from states in which Trump's team was falsely claiming fraud. At least 20 people allegedly connected with the scheme were subpoenaed by the House panel and legally compelled to testify. The committee says it will also show evidence through more than 1,000 interviews and tens of thousands of documents that the various efforts to overturn the election were directly connected to Donald Trump. The House panel will also hear from election workers and local officials who say they had to fend off Trump's pressure to overturn Biden's victory, even at times in the wake of frightening personal attacks. Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, is scheduled to testify about a phone call he received from Trump in which the president, as he was at the time, asked him to find nearly 12,000 additional votes to flip. Meanwhile, former Vice President Mike Pence says he will not allow Democrats to use January the 6th as an excuse to distract voters from President Biden's failed agenda. Mike Pence, of course, considering a presidential run of his own in 2024. Last week's hearing focused on the mob's channeled anger against him. Some were threatening to kill the vice president, fueled by Trump's accusation that Mike Pence was guilty of betrayal. WION's correspondent Susan Tehrani joins us now live from New York with more on all of this. Susan, day by day, the Select Committee is painting an absolutely devastating picture of the role that Donald Trump played in the days and weeks leading up to January the 6th and thereafter. I mean, this has got to be damaging his hopes of a possible political comeback in 2024.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, it's hard to tell right now whether or not it will sway any independent opinions at the end of the day, because I think at this point, this is what this committee is hoping for. If you are on the Democrats' side, I think your mind has been made up when it comes to the election of 2024 and where Donald Trump stands. If you are a Donald Trump supporter and if you are a Republican leaning towards a Republican candidacy, there is no way that this show trial is going to sway your opinion in any way or form, because Nancy Pelosi, because of her hyper-partisanship, really made this a show trial against Donald Trump instead of really going after the causes of those terrible events of January 6th. We're in the third week and we are hyper-focused on Donald Trump instead of really trying to find out what happened, how to prevent something like this from happening again. So, you know, we'll wait to see what the other hearings produce, but that's where we are right now. Whether or not it'll sway independent voters, it's yet to be seen. But I think the majority of American people are where Mike Pence mentioned yesterday. They see this somewhat as a distraction. They are hyper-focused on their living condition right now, on the inflation, and they reflect that in poll after poll. When they are polled, January 6th is not even on the top three of their concerns. It's inflation, it's high living of cost, it's crime, it's gun, and then it goes into something like abortion and then social issues. So, you know, whether or not it'll be difficult for Donald Trump to make a comeback, maybe it'll even fire him up. I mean, Donald Trump is Donald Trump, so we'll wait and see.
And how much risk are the Democrats putting themselves at through these hearings, Susan, that they are looking back over their shoulders at events that for many Americans may seem somewhat distant and perhaps more distant given the extraordinary crises besetting the country, the scourge of inflation, rising fuel prices, crime and violence on the streets? The Democrats are taking a bit of a risk with this intensity of focus on events that happened almost a year and a half ago.
Right, absolutely. That's one thing. And then, you know, today's hearing is going to be led by someone like Adam Schiff. And at least for the Republicans, you know, when Adam Schiff is in a process, you know, he's someone that sort of led those Russia collusion hearings and impeachment trials with Donald Trump that turned out to be all false. So any process where he's involved in, the Republicans and Trump supporters really discredit him altogether on the one side. On the other hand, you know, as you mentioned, the Democrats really tried to, you know, really gambled when they didn't let the minority leader, the Republican minority leader, put Republicans that they wanted to choose on the panel to cross-examine these witnesses. And then, you know, you have those major concerns for the Americans. But what they are sort of hoping is that at least they'll sort of be vindicated, that, you know, to show the American public that, see, it's Trump's inner circle that is also testifying. It wasn't just us saying that Trump was involved. It wasn't just us really carrying out this narrative. As you can see, it's members of Trump's inner circle who's also testifying. So perhaps they're banking on that as well.
Susan Tehrani, WION's correspondent, live for us in New York this morning. Thanks very much indeed for that. Gun violence continues to seize the headlines here. Over the weekend, there were at least 6 people killed and 42 injured in the latest spate of attacks across America. Now, a Republican candidate for the US Senate has released a video urging his supporters to go rhino hunting. He is not talking about the wild animals. The acronym rhino stands for Republicans in Name Only, And by hunting, Missouri Senate candidate Eric Greitens implied seeking out and harming Republicans who do not side with former President Donald Trump. The video has now been removed from Facebook. Twitter has posted a warning on it. Responding to the restriction, the candidate accused Facebook of censorship. In the video, he's seen holding a shotgun and breaking into a home surrounded by a tactical unit. Here's an excerpt.
Join the MAGA crew. Get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit. And rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice.
Greitens is seen as one of the top candidates to win the Republican Senate nomination for Missouri ahead of a second primary in August. He resigned as the state's governor 4 years ago after a series of ethical lapses and accusations of sexual misconduct. He did not admit to any legal wrongdoing, and criminal charges against him were dropped. However, the Missouri police have condemned the uploaded video. Days after the deadly assault on the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, new details are emerging about the mass shooting. Local media reports suggest that multiple police officers, armed with rifles and at least one ballistic shield, reached the site within 19 minutes of the attack commencing. These are important details. They come amid an ongoing inquiry into how police botched their response to the May 24th attack. Cell phone video shows officers being urged to enter the school by the parents of children trapped inside. Throughout the attack, teachers and children also called emergency services, pleading for help. But what the officers supposedly did not receive were clear orders from their superiors. And despite the agony of families, they remained outside the classroom where the gunman was holed up, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. It took fully 80 minutes before a tactical team stormed the classroom and killed the gunman. A New York Times report suggests a breakdown in communications and doubts in the minds of officers contributed to the crisis. Another report suggested that the police never tried to open the classroom doors where the gunman was holding children. Delay in the police response has been the focus of both federal and state investigations. The Uvalde City Police have agreed to cooperate with state investigators about problems with the police response. And the Texas House Investigative Committee expects to complete its investigation by the middle of next month, according to reports. Under pressure from furious motorists and truck drivers, the White House is searching for ways to save Americans from high fuel prices. President Biden has said that he is considering announcing a tax holiday on which people could save almost 5 cents per litre in fuel costs. A budgetary model produced by the Penn Wharton School suggests that tax holidays have previously benefited consumers in the states of Connecticut, Georgia and Maryland, lowering the amount of tax revenue collected for each tank of fuel sold. As fuel prices soar to about $1 per litre, the government has started to release oil from its strategic petroleum reserves. It's also authorized an increase in the percentage of ethanol that can be blended into fuel. Now, a letter has reportedly been sent to refiners, urging them to increase their capacity, although they say they have limited abilities to refine more product. And the American Petroleum Institute says refineries are operating at maximum capacity. It claims overall capacity has been cut because many facilities are transitioning to renewable energy products.
The problem is what they've done is they've cut back on refining. And they say because they don't want to get caught in a position where eventually they're going to move to alternative energy, renewable energy, and they don't want to get stuck. Well, guess what? There's a logical transition to be made here. And I want an explanation from them as to why they aren't refining more oil.
Biden again there accused oil companies of making excessive profits while citizens feel the heat of the skyrocketing prices at the pumps at the start of the summer travel season. He told reporters his team will meet top oil company executives to discuss rising prices.
My team is going to be sitting down with the CEOs of the major oil companies this week and try to get an explanation how they justify making $35 billion in the first quarter.
Amid an inflationary spiral and rising interest rates, the president said a nationwide recession is still not inevitable. He argued the country is in a stronger position than any other nation to overcome inflation. In Mali, rebel groups allegedly massacred 132 civilians over the weekend in the Bankas region of the country. The government blamed the attack on an armed group, the Messina Katiba. The rebels of the Katiba group reportedly attacked several villages after exchanging crossfire with the country's military forces. Local residents claim that army operations in the area 2 weeks ago triggered retaliatory attacks by the armed group, who returned on Friday and took village men captive. They were then allegedly systematically shot not far from the village. Local security officials claim that the rebels have been burning houses and stealing cattle.
Resteront pas impunis.
2 weeks ago, the army was present on the ground to do patrols. Following these patrols, there were clashes with the terrorists. There were deaths of men on the terrorist side, about 12 people. After the armed and security forces returned to Bankas, around 4 p.m. on Friday, the terrorists came, about 50 to 60 motorcycles, to take the town of De Alasagu hostage. Finally, they took the people to the front after burning all the shops. They set fire to the market. They ransacked everything they wanted to take away and left.
The head of the country's ruling junta, Colonel Assimi Goita, has declared 3 days of national mourning. The attacks expose growing violence in the central part of the country, spreading from its northern region. A large part of Mali is now beyond the government's control and is prone to violence by self-defense militia and inter-community reprisals. Central Mali has been plagued by violence since an al-Qaeda-affiliated organisation emerged in 2015. In a separate incident, a UN peacekeeper died on Sunday from injuries sustained from an improvised explosive device. The United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali says several attacks have killed UN peacekeepers this year. The head of the mission reaffirmed his commitment to supporting peace and security in Mali. The UN peacekeeping mission began in 2013 after France led a military intervention to oust rebels. The most dominant athlete in women's tennis returns to competitive action later today at the Eastbourne International. Serena Williams' comeback has created a massive buzz, with the legend targeting a final hurrah at Wimbledon. The 40-year-old has not played since a leg injury forced her to withdraw from the first round of Wimbledon last year. Not too many expected her to play at the third Grand Slam of the year, following no-shows at the Australian Open and the French Open last month. But Williams has always loved the big stage at SW19 and has 11 appearances in singles finals, along with a perfect record of 6 titles in 6 doubles finals. She's taken a wild card for the singles draw at Wimbledon, and as part of her preparations, she will team up alongside Tunisia's Ons Jabeur in the doubles at the Eastbourne International.
I'm a good secret keeper. Yeah, I've known before the French Open. I told like some close, the family and one close friend, but yeah, it was very tough to say it. But I was super excited and I tried not to show it, and then everybody found out and everyone was texting me, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I couldn't know, like literally it's a secret, you know.
Williams has unfinished business with both Wimbledon and the Grand Slams as a whole. She is just behind Margaret Court's record of most titles won by a singles player at the Grand Slams. She has not won a Grand Slam since the 2017 Australian Open, when she was pregnant with daughter Alexis Olympia. She reached the finals at Wimbledon and the US Open in consecutive years in 2018 and 2019, but she has not been able to win a set in those 4 summit clashes. Irrespective of whether she joins Court on the all-time list, Serena Williams' legacy is unparalleled. She is the second African-American to win a women's singles Grand Slam and is level with Steffi Graf for most consecutive weeks as world number 1. Her 8th and final stint as world number 1 back in 2013 made her the oldest woman ever to hold that ranking. She's also achieved the Serena Slam on 2 occasions, when she held all 4 Grand Slam singles titles together at the same time.
I was lucky enough to be on tour with her a little bit, and that she spoke to me a couple of times and that she recognized me, that she knows my name. I'm talking like way before, in 2017. She's such an inspiration, and the fact that, I mean, we're playing doubles together, it's huge news for me, and it's unbelievable. I honestly never expected her to pick me or even to play doubles after a long time. But I feel like I'm going way back, and all the memories of watching her winning a lot of Grand Slams is hope I'm not gonna make me too nervous, you know, standing next to her.
Now, people say music has healing powers, and those are being marked today because it is World Music Day. And we're bringing you WION's list of South Asian musicians who have made a mark on the world map purely through their exemplary talent.
When I feel cold, I'll keep you close. 5 a.m. trains and broken chains. I called you every afternoon.
मजबूरी नू आन जान दी पसूरी नू जहर बने हाँ तेरी पी जावा मैं पूरी नू रावाच बावाच ओनू लुकावा कोई मैनू ना रोके मेरे ढोल जुदाइयां दी तेनू खबर किवें होवे आ जाए दिल तेरा पूरा भी ना होवे आ बड़ियां बनाइयां दी गलबात किवें होवे आ जाए दिल तेरा पूरा भी ना होवे फुल कुछ बना जाओ जी मन दीद कराओ जी अल्लाह क्यों तरसावे हो मन सकल दिखाओ जी थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं तो धरी इबड़े में जागी दो कणी चंदा में थारी चांदनी मन दामन में बादी खुशी रे झुम 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 ओ मारे इबड़े में जागी दो कणी चंदा में थारी चांदनी मन दामन में बादी खुशी रे झुम 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 वंदे मातरम वंदे मातरम वंदे वंदे.
Let your toes do the tapping this World Music Day. That's all we've got for this edition of WION Live Broadcast from Washington, D.C. I'll see you back here for the Wednesday edition tomorrow. In the meantime, stay with WION for all your news updates. World is one.
There are many other...